Florida Maquis, you've really been pushing some people's buttons lately here on YouTube, talking about some very controversial issues, especially over at your Patreon channel as well. Are you sure that's wise? Are you sure that's a good idea? Wouldn't it be safer or easier to talk about things like beans, bullets, band-aids, or Antarctica or space aliens? Yeah, I agree that would be easier. That would be safer. But based on observation, nobody who's talking about anything on this platform has any idea what's really coming, what's in store for this country. I've used this image multiple times. Are you ready? Are you sure you're ready? Would you be a beggar? Ladies, would you do what was necessary to keep the lights on? Is it my business to know? I don't need your answer in the comment section. It's a question I just need men and women asking themselves. Because when the lights go out, the rules change. Whether we like it or not, for some time in this country, the law of the jungle is going to apply. And if you're going to survive, you're going to have to let go of this idea for a minute that things are always going to be fair and things are just going to work out because you prayed away the evil. I'm all for prayer. But read the Bible. Look at the amount of suffering that even good people went through until they figured out how to get their mind right. Are you going to be Harold, guys, from The Getaway? You know, the really nice doctor that listened to Jennifer Tilly's problems and was her best friend, was her pal, her good husband, the one that was always there in every other way, right up until he wasn't, or he ran into a James Madsen character? Are you going to be him? Ladies, is this the guy you want? Is this the guy you want in your life? I'm just asking right now, because he will. He'll be a great guy. He'll listen to your problems, and he'll pay the bills, and he'll be totally harmless. See, it's easy to talk about prepping when it's bottles of water and emergency kits and dried food, rice, beans. Tactical camping is fun. Learning how to hammer little sticks into the ground and take leaves and branches and stack them all up for a weekend. Newsflash. That isn't going to get you ready. It'll get you ready to go camping. How to sharpen your knife, how to make fire from friction, how to take apart, put together a weapon. Nothing about the psychology of having to use it, of course, in self-defense, how to can things. You see, even 300 plus years ago, the founding fathers and their grandfathers were living in houses. They weren't tactically camping. They weren't even living in log cabins. Even long before this country was a country, long before the revolution, they had windows. And they knew how to build houses. All those were good skills that I just showed. But if you want the skills necessary to survive what's coming, you'll need to join us over at the Florida Maquis Patreon channel. It's an investment, yes, of one US dollar, the lowest allowable level per month. It's the minimum height of the speed bump that allows us to take the gloves off and talk about things in the context they need to be talked about in. Completely unvarnished. Sometimes it makes people, even guys, uncomfortable to see and hear what's coming and how to prepare for it and who you're going to have to be. Recently, we did a video, I'm not going to give too much away, about a very likely scenario that could repeat. over and over and over again once things get really, really bad. And by all indications, if you listen to the Patriot Nurse, if you listen to Southern Prepper, if you listen to BP Earthwatch, and they're getting intelligence reports from across this country, things are going to get a lot worse. And when things get a lot worse, sacrifices have to be made. I'll leave this image up and see if you can figure out what's really going on here. The real war has to be won in your mind. And once again, unlike cryptocurrency, if you're there for 90 days and you've spent three of your hard-earned dollars, and it's not for you, you can inbox me over there. I have regular conversations with people from my YouTube channel right here and say, you know what, it's not for me. I need my $3 back. No problem. Right back at you. Fully refundable. The war of the mind. It's not easy, it's not fun, and sometimes it's painful. But it is a war that needs to be fought and to be prepared for. Now, many people have come to me and said, Florida Maquis, have you heard what's happened down in Colombia? The leftist mayor of Bogota has just become the president. Do you have commentary? I'm like, yes, I do. I have hours of commentary on this because this is my wheelhouse. This is what I did. I was a Spanish linguist, United States Army interrogator. This is what I know. Many, many, many years ago, even before Hugo Chavez, when Venezuela was our ally, I can tell you horror stories about Colombia versus Venezuela. Colombia is one of the worst places on the planet. If you are a moral person, if you are a person that has any sense of decency or chivalry, this place will make you sick. Cali, Bogota, Medellin, Cartagena, Barranquilla, it will make you ill. What goes on here? It is that horrific, it is that horrible, and it is exactly what happens when you take the fetters off of capitalism and you say whatever goes, everything and anything is for sale to, of course, the highest bidder, and jobs are handed out to those who will do it for the cheapest. That is the first two rules of a good capitalist. Don't pay your help any more than you have to, and always hire somebody cheaper when it's possible, and charge the most that you possibly can, especially for things people need, like food, and housing, medical care. That's Colombia. You see, in words, it doesn't sound all that bad. But in the reality, when it's your mom and your sister and your niece that are the primary breadwinners of your family, and this is how they do it, it's a special kind of hell. And trust me, it's coming. It's coming to this country very soon. When that pendulum swings all the way back to the other direction from Joe Biden and his complete collapse to a version of capitalism and right-wingism and republicanism that we haven't seen since probably the 1880s or 1890s in this country, you watch. You watch what happens. Gas price. You think the gas companies, the big oil companies, are shedding a tear for it being $7.50 a gallon in California? You think they have any driving force to bring the price back down? Absolutely not. They're making money hand over fist. Even from when it was $4 a gallon many, many, many years ago, back in, what was it, 13? I think it was 2013, when it was up around $4 a gallon. And people were saying, this is terrible, this is horrible. They're making twice that now. And I'll be honest, I haven't talked about Abby Martin in a long time, but she recently put up a video over her channel that is absolutely fantastic. It details specifically what has gone on Venezuela versus Colombia. And I don't know how anybody can look at, with any kind of an honest mind, those two countries and say that they would prefer Colombia for any loved one. The new president wants to be the first to give up fossil fuels. And everybody hears them go, oh, that's going to be a terrible idea. Yep, absolutely. In the short run, it's going to be a terrible idea for the big oil companies. You see, Colombia actually makes money, the people of Colombia, off of the sale of oil. But not quite like Brazil does, or Saudi Arabia does. But there are going to be major forces aligning against this guy. And they're going to say, he's an evil Marxist, and he wants to install communism, and all this kind of scare tactic nonsense. You know what he wants? He wants the women off the streets. The numbers are frightening. This is an article from Women's Media Center. 28-year-old Rascos pandemic. This is from a couple years ago. They make $4 a day as sex workers. $4 a day. They tried to protest because they were offering a bag of groceries, and they tried. They've tried government subsidies. They've tried everything they can. But the reality of the numbers, it's truly, truly frightening. 92% of the sex workers in the city chose the profession because of economic need. 33% of them were migrants. And here's the part you need to really pay attention to. If you listen to one statistic, listen to this. 4 million sex workers in Colombia, a country of 40 million. Now, if you have a country of 40 million people, 20 million are men, 20 million are women, right? So 20 million women, 4 million sex workers, do the math. They're almost all women. 1 in 5. 1 million just in the city of Bogota alone. 1 in 7. And almost all are women, and the majority are the breadwinners of their families. Let me say that again. The majority are the breadwinners of their family, meaning it's the only job. It's the only income coming in. Half of them graduated from high school. 1 in 20 have a degree. And only a quarter of the ones in Bogota were actually born there. Where's all the money coming from? Real simple. Real simple. You know where all the money is coming from? That pays for all of this sex work in Colombia? Sex work capital of the world? You betcha. Oil executives, rich capitalists, business magnates, sex tourism. See, this is the dirty little secret of capitalism that they never like to talk about. See, we tried to talk about this 800-pound gorilla in the room and the amount of money being spent on it. Denmark, Israel, Belgium, Switzerland. But I'd like to throw a scenario out there for you North Americans who think capitalism is the answer. And as we see things start to crumble and start to collapse, and capitalism's not saving you, I'd like to use some images, of course, that we've used from Colony, because I think what we're going to see is going to dovetail very nicely with that series. If you haven't watched the series Colony, please get it. It's 4 seasons. It talks about space aliens, but how they react to the adversity is very real. I can see the situation, husband and wife, sitting down. Well, the savings is gone. We're a month behind now on mortgage, and we got the light bill paid, but we're almost through all of our emergency supplies. I know you've gotten that job when you lost your main job over at the local fast food place sweeping up, and being a janitor. And it's 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. You're getting 60 hours a week at $15 an hour. But when you do the math there and you take out the taxes and the cost of the gasoline back and forth, we might have $500 a week left over to do something with. And you're lucky to have that job. There'd be 100 other guys that would love to have it. Well, you see, I got offered a job. It was one that I'd had years ago, pouring drinks at this place. It's a little bit seedy. And even back then, I could make $900 a week. Most of that tips, cash under the table. That'd be double what you're bringing home. But there's a catch, and we need to talk about it because it's a little more seedy now than it used to be. And there's going to be demands made. And if I want the job, I'm just going to have to smile and deal with it because there's 100 other girls that want that job. See, you can make $500 a week being a janitor net at McDonald's. I can make that in one night. I can make more than that in one night. Oh, but honey, we're Christians. We can't do that. Can't we just pray the problems away? Can't we just pray them away? See, this is the most mind-bending thing to me about Christian capitalists. It's funny that when we read the Bible and we read the story of the adulteress that was caught in the act, and Jesus intervened and said, "Those of you who are without sin, cast the first stone." And nobody did. And then he looked to the woman and said, "Go and sin no more." Now, nobody asked the question, well, what about the husband who was cuckolded? What about justice for him? Because the woman was caught in the act. But then we also know the story of the table of the money changers, don't we? Where Jesus didn't go in and he didn't tell them to go and sin no more. He went in. Actually, the first thing he did is when he saw it happening, he went out and fashioned himself a scourge, which is a giant whip with a bunch of tails on it, and each tail has little metal barbs. And he went into the temple, kicked over the tables, and used the scourge to drive out the table of the money changers. Guys that were maybe just charging a little bit too much profit, cheating people. I'd like to ask some people out there, ladies especially, I'd love to ask this question of the ladies in my audience. You walk into your husband's office, and he's there doing some paperwork, and you go over and put your arm on his shoulder, and what you doing? He's like, well, it's been a rough year. I've had to kind of skim a little bit off of the bonuses of my employees to kind of pay the bills. Cheating them, of course. She'd be like, well, gosh, that's not a very nice thing to do. He's like, yeah, it's not. But then you notice something. You look at his collar, and there's lipstick on it. It's not your shade. And you lean down, you smell perfume, and it's not yours. What are you more upset about? Are you more upset that he cheated on you, or are you more upset that he was cheating people? You see, when you read the story of the adulteress who gets let off scot-free and the table of the money changers, it seems like there would be a bit of a mental disconnect with our modern values. The main challenges for Colombia's incoming president. What is he going to do? What is he going to do? Guys, I'll ask you this question. What if they had to do what they had to do under your roof? So you couldn't find a job. And they were lucky enough to have a house. Most sex workers in Colombia are not. They have to go rent a room somewhere that's way overpriced. And so they end up making almost nothing. What if that was the case? Just to be able to keep roof over your head, power on, food in the refrigerator. See, these are the stories they don't tell you. These are the stories they don't tell you. This woman talks about how she has a 7-year-old. We need to work. If we don't work, we don't eat. If we don't work, we can't pay rent. Let me see if I can find that thing about the 7-year-old who needed stuff for school, and she said, I can't. Here it is. I have a 7-year-old who asks me for things that I can't give him, said Riascos. The most frustrating part is that I can't work and bring him back food. We need help. We need help. That's why a leftist was elected in Colombia. See, Venezuela did that evil thing with all that oil money. They started building houses for people, and they started guaranteeing basic incomes for everyone. For everyone. Everyone had a basic income that they were entitled to maintain their human dignity. Everyone was required to, if there was any work available, to work. That's a little bit of the difference between Venezuela's evil, terrible, horrible socialism and socialism in North America. Socialism in North America doesn't require you to have a job. Here, you're constitutionally required to have a job, to work. But they provide housing, provide health care. One time, by far, per capita, the most wealthy nation. The most wealthy nation in all of Latin America. And they were socialists at that time. But big oil couldn't have it. Big oil couldn't have it. See, these are the hard things about what's coming that people don't want to hear. People have heard all the garbage from all of the right-wing prostitutes, pardon the pun, but they are, on talk radio, who are being paid by big oil to make you believe that capitalism will save us. If you want real capitalism, if you want real, dyed-in-the-wool, nitty-gritty, horrible capitalism, by all means, go visit Colombia. Visit the South especially. Cali, Bogota, this region down here. Some of these areas, the police won't even go in. They leave it to the drug cartels. And it is the wild, wild west. If you think it's so romantic, you think it's so cool, go visit. People say, well, Florida Monkey, if you think Venezuela is so great, why don't you go live there? After the U.S. destroyed it? Not thinking so. After the U.S. destroyed Venezuela? No. But prior to, when it was the most wealthy nation, per capita wealthy nation on the planet, has the most Miss Universes of any nation. The most beautiful women in the world over and over and over again for years and years and years. Venezuela. Big oil destroyed Lake Maracaibo. There are places in Venezuela that are absolutely spectacularly beautiful. This was an organized effort. And the Colombians were part of it to destroy Venezuela. So, anyway, I will leave it there. Go look up Abby Martin. You're not going to find her in any recommended videos for sure, because even YouTube has been bought on this platform anyway. I'll leave it there. God bless. Like, share, subscribe. Would love to have you at Patreon. We have a lot more to say on this. God bless. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.